We got dogs, we got kids.
We don't have
we got
dogs.
beer, we're good. Yeah.
We only...
Where is it, Tekken?
I can't believe you saw that little freaking grappler. Avery, why don't you come over here?
I mean, being a 10-point kicker's gonna help.
Sit. Sit. Sit.
What is that? What is that, dude? Done, dude. Can you breathe now?
God damn.
But it is what it is.
I'm gonna have a fucking extreme.
All right, guys. Welcome to the Deer Shop Podcast, presented by Siman Brothers Outdoors and the Leaky John Boat Company. Your track job was the first fun track job.
Oh, that was the best.
That kind of like, I think part of my life was influenced by that night.
Looking back on it, my biggest regret was opening day. I knew where it needed to be. I should have just done a simple hanging bank off the corner of that field, and he would have been toast. But I didn't.
That was our first public land deer hunting trip, and it went extremely well. 5 years ago, we couldn't shoot a deer at 100 yards with a slug gun. Now you're shooting turkeys at 100 yards with a shotgun.
It was a 90-yard shot pass through.
And then you miss him 3 times with a rifle at 70 yards on video for the whole world to see.
Yeah, that's what Caleb did.
This is the first buck I've shot in over 10 years. And, not to get too crazy emotional about it, but like
10 years, no buck. Deer Shop Podcast, episode either 70 or 71. I'm not sure whether it's going to be this weekend's release or not, just depending, because we are going down to West Virginia in the Gore Camp, and we're going to be recording down there. And we have Starlink now, so we're going to have internet access. So we might record down there and have that one release this week while we're down there. And then the one we're listening to right now that we're recording is actually episode 71. But I'm sitting here with the brothers, Ryan and Alex. If you listened last week, it was our second most downloaded single day of the podcast in history. And I am drinking a Pepsi this week. I'm actually on call tonight for the fire department. So if you're tuning in to see how colorful I get, tell everyone I love them after drinking an entire bottle of Traverse City. That's not going to happen this week. So I'm sorry to disappoint you.
They are.
I'm going to be a lot more tame tonight.
It was entertaining though for
I know,
at least me.
I asked a couple guys. I sent it
the
out
beginning and the end.
I sent it out to a couple people. I'm like that had listened to the whole thing. And I'm like, I had a lot of fun recording, and I thought it was a pretty good podcast overall. But I'm like, do I need to delete that? And they're like, nah, it was entertaining. You didn't say anything too bad. You just by the end you were super sloppy, which
Dropping a little more F-bombs towards the end. And
I know. Donnie,
slurring a little bit,
big
but
Donnie
overall you
Horner.
weren't saying like anything crazy.
Yeah, we kept it together. Me, Danny, and Dylan sat in here after we had a little bit of deer party. We cut Dylan's deer up that night, and we went and talked about the bucks they've killed, their bad experiences, a couple bad neighbors. I actually got to see the drone footage. I did some drone editing today for Chris Toast, Skyhound Drone Recovery. I edited up some videos for him, and I got to see the video of Danny's buck that he hit and survived and is still alive to this day. And man, that thing is wide. It might be the widest deer I've ever seen, like with my eyes on a video of someone that I know in person. It was a very impressive deer.
And that was at that other property that he shot.
Yep.
The one he shot.
Yep. So I know he's probably going to be trying to get after that deer next year if he lives, for sure. So Danny, hopefully we can tell that story next year. Like I said, I did some drone videos today for Chris, kind of put a couple together. Justin Walker's son, the Scott Clare the guy that lives over by the one. It was in 2 episodes ago on Deer Camp Chronicles, and then Andrew Harmon, I Carumba Charters, a guy I used to know. He was a medic instructor of mine. I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe now, a long time ago. He recovered a nice gnarly buck.
Yeah, I forget you're old.
Yeah, I'm so old. Alex is even more than I am.
Let's not go there.
That being said, I want to address just real quickly. I want to address some local stuff with the drones. There's a couple drone companies, and lately there's been some rumors going around with some local guys that they had maybe done some unsavory practices. And I want to say that if you're starting rumors without any type of proof or backing, or you're just conjecturing and throwing it out there, and these rumors are growing wings and growing legs, and you don't have any proof, I think that's some bullshit, because people's reputations can get ruined, and people can make unfair assumptions and throw people in a category. And if you don't have any proof and you're just saying stuff because you're jealous or what have you, or you think something's impossible, or you don't agree with the way something's done, we gotta quell that. That's been something that's kind of came up lately here locally. If you're listening to this podcast and you're a local guy, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. Every year there's something new when it comes to deer drama. Every year there's a different thing, and this year it's the usage of drones. We use drones in this story. We're going to talk about it. We've developed a pretty good relationship with Chris, because friends of ours and ourselves now have had to use him a couple times. We're going to do a separate drone podcast again. We did one last year before the big boom in drone technology. I guess not in technology, but in their usage, I should say.
Last year and the year before.
Yeah, we're
really
definitely
when it really took off.
We're definitely going to do another podcast about ethics and what we think the future should be, and legality and all this stuff. There will be a podcast about that. It's a great topic to talk about. I don't want to get too far into it tonight, but I just want to say that if you're starting rumors because you think something's happening but you don't have any proof, I mean, that we got to nip that in the bud. So
I was flying drones before all of these guys were.
You were. They weren't
2015.
They weren't thermals, but you do have some cool YouTube videos out there.
I did have a couple good
drone
ones.
stuff. You did the Arter's Farm stuff, which is kind of cool too.
Yeah, I need to do a little bit more and get a little bit nicer drone, but they're like cell phones. Every time you get one, the next best one comes out 6 months later.
Yeah, which that sucks, but without naming any names, because we're going to hold it until we can air it on the show, Deer Camp Chronicles, but I was in the tree tonight for something. I was filming a guy. I was filming a guy on our crew, and it was just one of those hunts that you'll remember forever. I don't even know how big he was. 160 to 170, probably mid 160s, maybe pushing 170s. Just
it was stupid.
A beautiful chocolate horn, mature monster buck doing all the rut stuff. And I got beautiful video of him with the snow falling and the rain and perfectly daylight out, and may or may not have filmed a miss at 35 to 40-ish yards, and it's going to take a while for that one to sink in.
Maybe
and
further.
Yeah, hopefully that story gets told here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be able to talk about it more. But I'll keep you on pins and needles with that one.
Yeah,
but
that thing is it's actual TV buck.
Yeah, that's
what you see in all the
right
big shows and all the YouTubes.
SBO, Small Buck Outdoors. There's the bucks that we film and the stuff that we have.
Did you just make that up, or someone already said that to you?
Someone's been saying it. It's been said.
I mean,
but this was not a Small Bucks
might
Outdoors.
Resolve itself in a way where we're sitting around here doing.
Tomorrow it could be resolved tomorrow, for all we know.
Yeah,
I do have a concert tomorrow night, but I could show up late.
Well, we're gonna be out of town, but
I'll be
that deer could be. The situation's ongoing.
He's still very killable.
Oh yeah.
Nothing that happened tonight is going to prevent him.
It was a very soft for missing a deer. It was a very soft spook. He actually came back out in the field. It's just beautiful. It's a very large deer and very beautiful footage, which you'll see plenty of in the future on this channel. But that's my ramblings. Caleb's got his portion of the podcast out of the way. So
yeah, right.
And everyone who listens and says Caleb talks too much, that part's over. We're going to talk about Alex.
Oh,
because you drew first blood this year, so it's
did.
been a while actually too.
Yeah, it's been October 14th, so we're a little over a month because Ryan's was exactly a month. So just quick, tonight took Autumn out.
Yeah.
We saw some deer. She wanted to shoot a spike. I didn't get the safety off fast enough for her because it was dark and I kind of went.
That would have been something for her to kill 2 deer this year.
How old is she?
She will. She
Oh,
will
no, I
kill
know.
2
I'm just
deer.
saying it.
She could have shot a doe already, and I just
Yeah,
these
but
deer.
you gotta get her something with some horns.
Yeah, it was a spike, but she's 9.
Yeah.
And
so this is Alex's
4th grade.
9-year-old daughter we're
Yes.
talking about. If you're not a local,
But every time we're there's deer that just walk 20 yards and just perfect broadside for her. And it's like the last one was like a 1.5-year-old doe. She was pretty small, but I was like waiting for these bucks that have been hanging around. So she's been hunting with me. I took Anthony out for gun weekend last weekend. And to go all the way back to my deer, the first time I seen them in person, I had both of them with me.
Yeah.
And like where I have my blind, I have this round wooden wheel from like a wire spool.
Yep.
And it actually works out perfect because it's got like a felt cover on it that someone used it for like a poker table or something. So it's quiet to sit on. It's level. Makes no noise. And it was before I had my blind up. We sat out there the Sunday, the 13th. And I started getting pictures of him like early October. I think I had a couple late September.
nothing velvet.
No. He was just kind of random. Then he started showing up all the time. Then I was like, oh, I guess I better hunt because I wasn't going to hunt till Halloween because that's just how that spot goes. So we're out there. I had them both out there with me on a Sunday. And seeing him and a couple other, I think we saw 5 bucks with him that night come out.
I remember.
Still bachelor
Yeah.
grouping almost.
Huge. And
Yeah, I mean,
right
it's
before
October
that, there was
14th.
like 4 or 5 doe that came out. Then the bucks started rolling out, and they all just stayed 200 yards away.
Yeah.
And I just remember Autumn's like, is that the big one? I'm like, yeah. She's like, can I shoot it? I'm like, no, I am shooting it. Like, that thing comes over here. I'm shooting it. Sorry, kids. Like, I made this spot for us. Like,
Dad needs to pay his dad tax on
I
this
put
one.
in the years for this area. And
Anthony
figured it
already
out.
has the biggest buck in that spot anyways.
That's true. From the same exact spot.
Mhm.
So the next day was Columbus Day, Monday. I had it off because I'm a government worker.
Hell yeah.
So I went out there at like noon.
Bastards.
Went out there at noon, put that blind in there. And
Is it the Tide Wee?
yeah. It's decent for what it is.
It's killed. It's been working.
It's in a
I
hell
can't
of a
shoot
spot.
out of one.
That was true. So I set it up that day and checked my cameras and put some corn out in the one corn spot, and I didn't shoot it over corn.
Alex is our corn supplier, by the way.
Yeah, I have to use the corn.
If you didn't know.
Yeah.
So I went. We're in this clay pigeon shooting league. Well, I am in, and Dylan and
A lot of the guys on the
Couple
shop
of the
actually
other
are.
guys.
Tyler's in it.
yeah, Tyler's in it.
Luke and Ethan used to do it, but they don't no more.
Yeah, Kyle.
Yeah.
A few others, but so we start shooting at 4. This is before daylight saving.
This is
time.
back when it was like light out till 8 o'clock.
Yeah, like
7-ish.
7-ish. It was like
7:15,
7-ish. So I went over there. I think I even left work a little bit, or no, I didn't work. Stupid.
Yeah, you're government working.
Yeah.
You end shot.
So I went and shot
Yeah.
right away at 4 o'clock at the first round of shooting. Shot actually really good for me compared to my usual shooting. Left there, went straight to my hunting spot. As I was on the way, I'm looking at my Tacticam, and he's there at the corn.
Yeah.
I'm like, son of a... So I'm mad. I get there, start throwing all my stuff on, go to grab my bow, and it's gone. It's not in my truck. So I forgot my bow.
These are the kind of nights that good things happen. Though.
Yeah.
Like if you have everything perfect, it's bad things happen.
Yeah, so I forgot my bow and called my beautiful wife, Nicole. I'm like, hey, can you do me a really huge favor right now?
You're
Like,
solid.
I am really upset right now because the deer I'm trying to hunt is here, and I don't have my bow. And can you bring it to me? Because it's going to be a lot faster than me driving home at 100 miles an hour to get my bow and come
Right.
back. She's like, oh, yeah, sure. I'm like, all right, thanks. So while she's coming, I'm like, taking my binoculars and trying to see if I can see him anywhere. Didn't see nothing. She comes. I get it. I go out there. I start walking towards there, and I kick up a deer right next to my blind. So then I'm like froze there. So I tried to go another way to get to my blind. There's a deer in the field.
So the 14th was one of those nights. That's the last night that I saw the wolf.
Yeah,
I had every
those
buck.
couple days there was a lot of activity going on.
I remember having a really
every
good
buck
hunt that night.
on the farm was in the food plot for me.
Yeah,
that
everyone
night.
was
Like,
saying
it
that
was
stuff
it was an amazing
happening.
night. Yeah,
Like that week or
It was
so
cold.
was pretty
it was
good.
rainy.
yep. I mean, that's the day
Yeah,
right there.
Temperature dropped. It went from like 74 to 52 or something.
And it was
So
the first
dropped
like
heavy.
52 of the year, so 52 felt like 32.
52 daytime.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was an awesome fucking day.
Yeah. So I get there and I'm like, deer everywhere. I can't get to my blind without kicking up deer. So I was all flustered about that. So then I just finally snuck into it, sat there, didn't see nothing. Then I had a few doe come out the same spot that they did the day before, 200 yards.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, here we go again. So then he came out just by himself in the same spot. Then he started slowly, as slow as he possibly could, towards me, like 200 yards. He was kind of zigzagging, just taking his good old time.
There was no hustle in his step at all.
No, so I kind of changed the way I was sitting because I was kind of facing one way to shoot. Hopefully they come out of there where they bed, and he came from the other side. So I changed the angle that I was sitting.
You got sticks?
I had my dad's tripod.
Okay.
And that tide weed's big enough for it in there with me and the kids. So it's nice. It's almost like cheating, it feels like. But
I said it.
but
But
I have a dead deer.
you did. Yeah, that's
First
a fact.
shot.
That's a fact.
So he was coming in. Then he's seen the blind. He could, because there was just black holes in this,
Right.
all these weeds, and there's just black hole there. So he kind of was suspicious about it, and he kind of zigzagged coming in. Then at one point I thought he was just going to book it. Then he didn't. Then he was just curious.
Mm-hmm.
And he got closer. So I had him at 70 yards, and I was like, all right, just keep coming. And he zigzagged back, and I had him at 60 broadside, which I've practiced with my 10-point crossbow.
Product placement.
Yeah, right. And but I wasn't going to shoot it. It's still too far.
The arrows in it, or the bolt
Bolts
is in the air for a long time.
It is.
at
I mean,
60.
it shoots 400 feet per second, but that's not.
Yeah.
It's fast, but that's still a long ways.
It is.
So then he came in again and started getting a little bit closer. I said, if he gets by about 50, I'm going to let him have it. Like, he wasn't completely broadside. He was quartering to me, and he was, like, staring at me. And I could see, like, his one back leg, like, lifting up, like he was about ready to bounce. So I said, 50 yards I'm comfortable with. That's what I told myself when he was at 60. Like, he comes a little bit closer and he gets where I feel like he's about 50, I'm going to let it fly if I have a good shot. And that's what I did. And he was staring right at me. I let it fly. He did duck it a little bit, so I hit him high on the shoulder, but the way it was quartering to, it went inside and just tore up everything.
Went all the way through him.
No, that's the only bolt I didn't have go through a deer with
But
that
it went
bow.
like, I'm saying from the angle, it went through like.
It went through all his insides.
Right, it
but
went through his
didn't
whole body.
come out the other
Yeah,
side
yeah.
because it hit his hindquarters.
That's crazy. It must have been quartering too pretty good. Or turned just enough to.
Yeah, because I think it hit part of his shoulder blade because, I mean, there was that much of the bolt in the broadhead stuck inside of him. I never found the other end of it with the
Did
knock.
it work itself out? Must have somewhere. Or just in the guts?
I thought it was in his guts when we.
The broadhead in that part was inside the
inside of him.
guts. The
He never
other
found
part
the
of it
other
didn't
side.
find the knock side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Strange.
So I waited a while,
But of
called
course-
everybody.
When we started this, the track job,
Yeah.
it was cold, kind of wet, kind of damp. I don't even
Yeah.
remember if it was already kind of raining.
It
And
was
as
starting
we-
to sprinkle a little bit.
As we kept taking steps, trying to follow the blood, the rain kept coming harder and harder.
Yeah,
So
the sprinkle turned into more of a rain.
it wasn't that perfect dry night where,
Well,
let's find, here's zero.
And it was in like a hayfield too, which is the
so
worst.
it's
Like
just
hard.
the worst.
high stem count green, it was like Johnson grass or whatever that stuff is.
Timothy. So
but you had
Timothy alfalfa in there.
This was the perfect family.
That's what I have.
track
I
job.
wrote it down here in my notes while you're talking.
I mean,
your entire
had
family came out for this track job.
all
that
three
day.
of his children,
Dog.
his wife, his dog, his
Right.
brother, his coworker.
His buddy Brandon.
I mean,
Ethan was running the camera for
Ethan
it.
was
Yeah.
here. He caught all the film. It was the perfect track job, and luckily, you're not luckily. I mean, you executed. You put a great shot on, and
Yeah, I had an eye. So when I shot him, I saw that the knock was still in him when he took off running, and that made me a little bit worried because, like I said, I've never had one not blow through him.
Right.
Because I could shoot through probably 3 deer.
Yeah.
It feels like.
Yeah.
So
Like Ryan will say in his story, you can smell the crossbow smoke like a gun when you shoot.
yeah, it is. I swear to God, it does. But so that made me a little bit worried. So we waited till everybody gathered up there, and I knew where he went, and I contacted the one landowner on that side, and everyone got there. We started searching, and
It was cool because kids up on shoulders, and the little girls were asking the questions.
Yeah.
And, just the whole family
then
thing.
Anthony found the first blood.
Yep.
Actually, my
Yep.
son.
I think it was on the video too. I think Nicole was like, "You really found that?"
Yeah, because
Something
he
like
was
that.
like, the dog was dragging him right into where
Yeah.
blood was. So maybe the dog led him right to it.
Maybe. It was Nicole's first deer track ever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, "This is so much fun." I'm like,
Yeah. Now she knows why we.
I
did.
know. This is why we go over there and have like a big deal about
Yeah,
it. Like,
it's awesome. Just being in the woods. I think about that every time I walk out of the woods, like after a hunt. Like being in the woods at night. There's just something about it.
yeah, I'm like,
I just love
we're
it.
not just drinking.
Yeah,
Like,
it's part of it.
yeah,
But
that's a minor part. Like,
Yeah.
the major part is finding the deer and the blood and everything and hanging out. But so, like Ryan was saying, so we had decent blood. We were kind of finding it here or there, and it starts coming down.
it was coming.
It wasn't
down
like
pretty-
heavy, but it was heavy enough to wash
It was
those
big droplets.
the little drips of blood that we had away.
yeah,
So I knew the land
I
where
was
he went
just
into the
about
woods.
to tell Alex to just knowing the landscape because I've been there because he basically runs an outfit.
Yeah, pretty
Anthony, Derek.
how many deer have been
you,
killed there?
Bucks.
2 bucks last year, my buck this year. Anthony shot a button buck last year. Autumn shot a button buck this year. I think I shot 2 does there. Year
He's done
before.
pretty
So
good there.
close to 10.
But so I know the
Quite a
landscape
few.
of
Yeah.
and so as we're going through this and the rain droplets, I mean, it was like a heavy droplet. It was a pretty good rain,
Yeah.
and I was about to tell Alex to just go. We had a ton of people. We're following a trail, but it wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't
No.
bad blood, but it wasn't great, and it's the hardest conditions to track in the hayfield.
Right.
So I was literally going to tell you, like, go up to the ridge line, go look down in the valley, and
Yeah.
literally our minds were like synced because I'd look over and you're gone.
Yeah.
And
I was like, you guys just stay in the blood trail. I'm going to go look in the woods where I think he went, and we'll just go from there. So I go in there with my flashlight. I just put brand new batteries in it.
Alex is like the light. Well, Alex and Tyler are like
Tyler,
the light
too.
guys.
Tyler,
Tyler shows up with 32 gadget lights. Alex always just has like
A bright light.
Jimmy
You gotta,
might
you gotta
have
be
more.
able to see. Jimmy probably
tactical.
does.
He's got
it
tactical.
more on him at
Yeah,
all times.
Yeah.
So I go in there looking around in the woods, and there's like a couple of ravines over there. So I go over the one, look, and I see horns. I'm like, got him. Come on.
yeah, it's a great
So-
feeling when you hear that too.
Yeah.
Haven't had it in a while.
Yeah, so that was cool. It was like almost like my first buck.
Yeah.
Like he was just down and over a ravine.
One day we're gonna in the off season, or maybe when the season starts to dry up and we're running out of content.
We'll do it
We've
like
talked about it.
January.
Yeah, we need to have the Tale of Two Brothers, like their first bucks. That'll be a good podcast.
First big bucks.
Yeah, first big bucks. I'm looking forward to that podcast. But
Yeah, we'll bring them in. Mine's got a Santa hat on it right now.
yeah, it'll be it'll be fun. But regardless, you found it.
Found it.
The whole recovery, family pictures.
Yeah,
all
everybody
that.
was there. The dog was there. We took a bunch of pictures. Everyone had a great time. Came back to the deer shop, hung them up, measured them.
Yep, drank some beers. Put them on the board because they have their 5-year bet. The Brothers got their 5-year bet, which now we'll get to it later, I guess. But yeah, there's been some changes in the leaderboard up there.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
I got
Yeah,
the bigger
4
one
years,
on
or
our
three-
first big one. It's his turn this time, so we'll see
3
what
more
next year
years
happens.
for that bet. 3 more years.
3 more years.
It's a lot of inches.
It is
Lot of inches.
A lot of inches.
Good thing we both whiffed last year.
So if you listened to 2 podcasts ago, we talked about deer oppression, the famous deer oppression. That one actually did pretty well too on YouTube and the downloads. But we talked about deer oppression. Ryan was a member of that. He had a wounded buck. Drone came out. Definitely still alive. He ended up getting trail camera videos after the podcast of the deer. Acted pretty damn normal.
Yeah, I wasn't incredibly surprised.
Yeah,
Just
it literally just a
considering,
flesh
but-
wound.
Yeah, just a flesh wound.
He was
Which
hurt
is-
that night, but it ended up being his. I mean, he was walking on the leg that you put an arrow through, so he was.
Yeah, good.
He was alive.
Yeah.
Some of the things we had talked about in that podcast were you need to clear your head. Actually, we sent you. It's actually funny. Like in the group chat that day, like a lot of people were putting in advice on what you need to do. I put like I don't know if you remember. I sent you like the biggest
3
book
paragraphs
ever, like 600
I
lines.
read
like,
all of it.
Like go buy some brand new arrows.
No, I know. I mean,
shoot
it was
your bow. Well, I know
it
you
was
know, but
more
they don't
than-
know. They don't know.
right. I mean, right. So it was more than just you got this or it
Yeah.
wasn't
You'll
a pep
get it,
talk.
champ.
It was
Yeah, right. Like
next
it
time.
was about how he had moved a tree stand as he was getting down 15 degrees because he didn't like the way it was set, or drawing in your stand
Yeah.
and feeling comfortable, or shooting your bow X amount of times, or which
getting
I'm
some
sure
new equipment was a big one for me. Like
doing
get
doing
fresh
all
arrows
the things to make sure when that moment comes that you're prepared for it, or as prepared as you can be. I mean, it was more than just a pep talk. It was beyond that.
And the beautiful part is you went out to hunt for a doe and you were not prepared for the moment that happened. Like you were totally unprepared for what unfolded when you went out for that doe hunt.
Well, that's one
The
thing.
day of those texts.
That's one thing I was going to ask our mysterious shooter tonight. Like, with it being cold and having all that gear on, like, are you practicing in that? Like, you're not
Right.
practicing all
No.
summer in your
Yeah.
hoodies with the coat on over it and whatever gloves, and if you got a face mask on and stuff. Like,
So what was our old thing? It was I gotta pee.
You got pee already?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to pause for station identification. All right. We're back. Intermission over. We were talking about getting your head right, and then you went out for a doe hunt.
And I guess I'll take it from there.
Yeah. It's your story, not mine.
Yeah. So obviously had an unfortunate circumstance the weekend prior. Well, I guess it would have been about 10 days prior. When I wounded the deer, had to bring in the drone. Same day Isaac did, same day that other guy, but he had a better fate.
It's the Deer Camp Chronicles, One Day in November,
Yes.
Season 2 episode.
So this would be a
7.
Wednesday. This is a Wednesday after work, and I'm hunting a set real close to my house. I was actually waving on going hunting or not. Me and Ethan were going to work out. We had fire training. We had an extrication training to do that night, and I'm like, I got to clear my head. I'm going to go shoot a doe. I got to train a does, and it's rut, but if I get a mature doe come in or a couple of them, I'll wait for the last one to walk by, make sure nothing's following, and whack one. So I had to justify doing that by bringing my camera. And this is a set that I didn't plan on filming in.
This is his first year self-filming, by the way.
It seemed a little bit, as someone that's new to doing it, hard to do out of this set. So I go, well, I got to bring my camera. I got to justify it for the amount of times I've passed shooting on does, waiting on the buck to come in. So as I'm setting up, I actually have does watching me, and I'm like, well, fuck it. There's a million of them around here.
Right.
Set up, and, it's rut. It feels pretty good outside, and out of nowhere, I look to my right, and I see antlers come out of the thicket, come out of this little pinch. and I was 99% sure it was a shooter, but I've made that mistake before. So
Yeah.
I pull out my binoculars on my harness, get him on him, shooter for sure.
I always, because I'm blind, always, if I see antlers or any deer coming in, I always quickly pull my binoculars up and check. I never rely on camera, gun scope, or my naked eye.
You know, and that was
ever,
part of
ever.
2 years ago.
Let's get some contacts or glasses.
Eventually.
Get over
You're
it.
making too much sense.
Get over
You're
it.
making way too much sense.
2 years ago, I made this mistake. I shot a deer I wasn't happy with. A deer I didn't even know who he was when I shot because I just assumed it was a different deer.
Yeah.
I made sure this deer was a shooter.
He was a shooter.
And now at this point, this is kind of the point of the story where there's multiple aspects to it. I obviously was committed to bringing my camera and committed to harvesting a doe on film. Well, this is obviously a different situation. I've got a shooter buck coming by. I've got my camera. I'm obviously going to try to capture this.
Yeah.
It's kind of twofold. If I didn't have my camera, I probably could have stopped this deer at a much shorter yardage, not had the panic of getting the camera and everything going, which there's so many aspects of this for me personally that I've learned and I'm going to be able to look back on. But I get my camera is not ready to go. This was the last thing I was expecting, and I know that sounds silly because of rut, but given where I'm hunting, given the caliber of deer I already know that was killed here, I wasn't running any cams here anymore. I didn't know what was on this, these properties.
Is this a perfect time to pause and tell how you had a camera at a farm all fall long and you thought it was at a different...
Can we let me get through this first?
I didn't hear that stuff.
Can we let me get through this part first? It's easy to make fun.
All right, I'm going to put it there at the end.
Okay. So I don't have the camera ready at all. I'm opening up the screen. I'm flipping it on. I completely forget about the mic, so you don't really get too much of that content, but it really doesn't matter. I'm making sure that it's recording, and at this time, he basically goes from a 25-yard window to a 40, 41-yard window. I stop him. I believe that I was probably moving with him.
I think you were too. I
probably should have given him more time once I stopped him to steady up. The distance, I believe, if you watch the video, I did pretty good from a vertical distance. It was a horizontal, and this deer, I hit him, and he ran off, and he kind of stood out in a thicket.
Yeah, like
some tall weeds.
those
barely
white flowers.
stopped when you shot. He came and just paused for a second, and that's
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I
basically
you had
as I stopped
a quarter of a second to think about. He stopped and
We will talk about
as I
archery
stopped him.
shots
I essentially
at the end of this
release.
podcast. I have it written up.
all right.
I hit him. He runs off, and it was kind of weird to me because I'm trying to do quick math. All this happened incredibly quick because I mean this is a buck during the rut. I mean he wasn't sprinting, he wasn't head up, he wasn't running, but he was on a quick little pace. I hit him. He runs off into a taller grass. I zoom in on him, and I can see blood on the offside that I shot him on, or thought I shot him on, and it looked to be pretty like a good amount of blood. I'm looking on a little screen. My heart's thumping. I don't really know what's going on. End up going back to the house, looking at the footage, and I'm basically kicking myself again.
The arrow, your shot, and it's live. Whenever this podcast is airing, it's live right now. It actually premiered tonight, so you can watch it on Deer Camp Chronicles. Your arrow did some weird stuff when it hit the deer.
Right.
It looked like it did like a wing wing.
Hard to explain. You'll see it. You can see it in the video. It just did some weird
jumped around.
stuff.
Yeah.
And
so I was kicking myself over this. I mean, if it's 12 feet or 12 inches to the right, it's we're probably having a different story that night.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
12 inches is a lot.
It's a lot
in the archery world.
It's a lot. So I come back to the shop after I had already kind of looked at it at my computer, but I don't have. I mean, it was just basic stock video player.
Yeah.
And so we come back here, we slow it down, we take a look at it. Still kind of unsure. I mean, I'm zoomed out all the way because I didn't really have time to do anything with it.
You did a good job of getting the shot on film.
Yeah.
And the camera's steady.
Yeah.
Just zoomed out far, but that's. I mean, we've all been there.
So
better
unfortunately,
than no
like
shot.
Isaac, Caleb, Ethan, they're all going to fire training. They've got he's got a training to run.
Yeah, I had no choice but I had to go. Like I was.
The weather the next day was looking terrible, and really tracking him on foot. I did find a giant puddle of blood. Not
Was it
that
the car one?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was the extra.
Not that it stood for much, but I found a giant puddle of blood.
Swath. I'd call it swath.
Swath.
Yeah, because it was running. Where like
Swath.
Yeah.
Okay. Swath of blood. I've never even heard of that.
Maybe.
And
gotta get sophisticated.
so
kind of-
some effort needed to be made.
Yeah.
So this is where we go back to drones.
Yep.
And I had just called Chris 10 days prior. I had to call him again, and he's like, "What's up, buddy?"
Payment just went through for
I
the
didn't
first
think
time.
I'd be talking to you so soon. So we have a conversation. I check his availability. He comes out that night. A couple of the guys come over. A couple of people have never seen drones live, like Kasich.
Yeah.
I don't know if Nick had or not, but I know
No, I don't
he
think
was
he'd ever
interested
seen
in
one.
seeing
Yeah.
it.
No.
It is cool, and this is a great resource for this purpose.
Yeah.
There's just no doubt about it.
We'll talk about that in the drone podcast. and
Yeah,
that's-
I'm not going to go too
It's
far into it.
amazing how, without this drone, we would not have found where this deer ended up.
Yeah, we were
0%
chasing
chance.
it all night.
You'd be trespassing on 50 properties. It would have just been a sloppy disaster. The drone, it's amazing how the drone can correct that.
Right.
It's incredible, the drone's ability to correct that type of action.
Yeah, it makes you take the proper procedures to try to
Right.
find your wounded deer.
As
or
fun as a
whatever you
wild
need to
goose
do.
chase is, chasing deer around
Yeah.
through the woods.
When
Well,
you
in
gotta
this day and
cross-
age,
I guess I kind of
when you
forgot.
got to cross 50 properties. it's-
Exactly. You're breaking laws. You're getting in trouble. Your
you got
pictures are
security
getting taken.
lights going off. You're walking through their yards. It's,
Yeah.
I guess the
No
other
good.
part that I kind of forgot about saying that is, having the footage as opposed to not
Yeah.
allows us to see what had happened or what we can make the best
Yeah,
of
what the
thinking
next
can
step
happen.
should be.
Because if I would have found that, if I didn't have a camera,
You would have seen that arrow sinking in front of him.
Granted, I might have had a better chance of executing and putting a better shot at him at a closer distance. But there's nothing that says that it would have been any better
Yeah.
at all.
How many times do
So,
we meh at a deer that close and they run?
Having that footage allowed us to know that really getting on foot and tracking is not an option.
No.
Well,
so
then
there's really
especially after seeing that swath of blood.
Yeah, because without
'Cause there
the
was
camera,
a lot of blood in that.
your story,
At least from your pictures. I don't.
right.
we're always going to be on the side of the shooter. So when you're retelling the story and we're hearing the story, we're always going to try to give you the best advice that we can. So it's going to be like, oh, it sound like that blood is good. It looks like there might be some drops in it. Like it sounds
Yeah.
like you probably.
That's what I
sunk it
did
in
on
there.
this first one.
The
I was
difference
like, oh,
is
it's dead.
with
It's
this
dead, and I
deer,
was so wrong.
I did hear a good sound.
Yeah, pop.
It wasn't that air release. but
I wish we could hear it because if the mic would.
If the mic was on.
It's all right.
It,
It sucks that your camera's you have to do his camera. You have to open the screen, turn the camera on, and then turn the mic on. So there's a lot of steps.
and again,
Yeah, I
this
wondered,
was-
like, when he said I did a meh, I'm like, replaying the video, I'm like, I don't hear it.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Like,
no,
what's
I
going on
stopped
here?
him. That's why he stops.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. Where were we?
The drone
So we had-
resource.
So we had Chris come in. We scheduled a time. Training was finished. We had some guys come back to the house. Some guys had never seen it. Unfortunately, we had just used it, and it's not something you want to use.
No, I mean,
Obviously,
you
we
never
were-
want to call a drone and be like,
Yeah.
No.
But I'm
That's
making
why I
the
said,
effort.
like, well, sorry to interrupt, but like 5-6 years ago when they were like twice as expensive, I said, if you make me come out and I don't find it, it's going to be $1,000. If I find it, it's going to be $500 because, the resources is there, the technology, the money that's into them.
Right. So we use
Sorry.
the resource. We bring Chris in. We end up locating the deer.
He was hurt.
He was hurt. He actually, I would say everyone was probably shocked by his condition.
Yeah, it's
given the
hard to
shot.
tell a lot, but like he was laying his head down
For
flat,
he
like a
just-
dog laying on the carpet in front of the mantle.
Like he
Like-
looked
Yeah.
like he was
Laying in
actively.
front of the
He looked like he
fireplace.
was actively
Yeah,
dying.
he was laying there with his eyeball open.
Yeah.
Like
So
There was
He
a
was
moment that his ears or nothing was moving, and we're like, did we just watch him die?
yeah, we
did
thought
he just
we
die?
might have seen him die. And at this point, the leg we found out that the leg was in really, really, really bad shape.
Yeah,
Really,
hanging
really
on
bad
by a
shape.
thread.
Hanging on by a thread, his front right leg.
So at that point,
There's nothing
There's
you can
really
do. There's
nothing
nothing
you
you can
can
do
do.
at night at that point, right?
There's nothing you can do. I had acquired some permission from where we believe that he was laying, and it's really more about saving face at that point, and really we don't know the condition of the deer.
Right.
So
You got to make a decision.
I took Alex's crossbow
Yep.
and decided to get away from the compound bow because
Next morning, by the way,
Yeah,
not
next
at
day.
night.
yeah. So I take Alex's crossbow
In the weather conditions,
and the
They
yeah.
were miserable.
wouldn't have been able to film it if we wanted to. Piss and rain, wind, like it was nasty out.
Yeah, it was crap.
I go back after him and basically set up right where I believe that he was. And, it's getting dark. It's wet. It's cold. I got a doe blowing. I had seen his antlers move a little bit. Fortunately enough,
He hadn't moved too far.
he had not moved too far. He
Almost
got
did a
up.
full circle.
He almost did a
Yeah.
full circle. He came back around. He walked right down. I had a nice little lane that I was trying to range through in case he had went this way when he got up. I could probably have shot about 40. He ended up walking by at about 15 to 12 yards.
Saw
And
you.
He saw me as I was about to release, and he
You weren't,
basically
you weren't releasing anything. You were pulling the trigger.
pulling the trigger. Sorry.
As
I'm not used to it. I had
I know.
never held a crossbow. I had never shot a crossbow in my life.
Crazy,
So
aren't they?
it was fucking crazy.
It kicked back. Did it kick?
I don't remember a
It
kick,
does
but
have a little
so as he's
motion.
as
but, I
he
mean,
is walking perfectly down this lane, I knew it was going to be top reticle. He turns, blows, and I just smoke him.
Yeah.
And then I literally smelled smoke. I've never shot a crossbow. I don't know if this is a thing. I don't know. I'm not actually joking.
Breaking
I
the
was
sound barrier with
like,
that
like
air
what
speed.
the hell was that?
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's from the oil for the strings or whatever. 'cause
It
it's moving
literally
so fast.
smelled like a
It does.
smoke.
It almost smells like a gunpowder went off.
So at this point, I'm feeling really good. I find the arrow. I am basically assured at this point in time that this deer is dead. I have to go, unfortunately, ask for permission to recover the deer.
2 more properties.
2 more properties.
Just
And
just to be safe.
Yeah, to be safe. So I started the initial property that I believe they could have went on. It was kind of an awkward experience. I'll spare the details.
I wish
It's in
you
the.
had.
Is
I
it
wish
in the?
you
I
had
think
like
it's
a-
in the video.
I think it was in
Talking
the
through
video.
double doors.
I mean,
Oh,
like,
was it?
This lady wouldn't open either door to talk to me. Her husband was next to her if she was concerned. It was very awkward. She told me no more hunting, even though I wasn't hunting her property.
Yeah.
Just one of them weird things, but she did say you can recover the deer. So I appreciate that. Thank you. The next house, who was someone that I'm familiar with, we pulled up in his driveway. I explained him the situation, and he goes, well, I was going to go check out that down there. And his house sits up kind of high on a real nice
It looked
valley.
really nice, yeah.
Really nice, well-maintained grass. Nick was joking he was dead on the 18th hole.
Yeah. I would watch.
And we look down, and he is smoked about 100 yards from us. And it was a very relieving feeling. It was very relieving to put the end
Matt
on
took
a,
some super sneaky cell phone video
Yeah.
of you recovering it.
It was nice to put the end on a really long previous night and day following. For me to be able to harvest the biggest buck of my life, to know this deer isn't running around.
Biggest buck of
wounded
your life, mature buck on film, and so far it's the biggest deer killed in deer shop this year.
so far.
You're winning the brother bet. I mean, that deer accomplished a lot.
Yeah, I mean it felt good. I mean, again, it's not the perfect story.
Yeah, and and I was telling you this to make you feel better before. Like, rarely do these deer stories end up perfect. I mean, how many times have we had to shoot deer a second time? How many times we had to get a group of guys to go out there and push through a brushy patch and the
was
buck's
quite the
wounded?
story.
Like, there's very unsexy endings to a lot of deer stories.
Yeah.
They are not always perfect.
I don't feel shamed by it. I'm not gonna pout about anything that happened. I'm incredibly fortunate for what happened.
Your
I'm,
wife's
I'm
happy.
excited for what happened. Oh, that was hold on.
Yeah, it
I'm
all
glad you
turned
brought that
out
up. So Alex
yeah.
Alex and Nicole, they got she got to come along for his track job, and she kind of got to see what it's about. And he's like, I think I earned myself some brownie points here for future track jobs. Well,
Right,
Gina was in the house for the drone.
Yeah.
And so she kind of got to see, the best side of it because she's basically in her PJs hanging out with a bunch of dudes.
She kept getting
Right.
mad every time I tried to videotape her.
Yeah. Well, she don't like that stuff.
She dogged you a little bit.
She did.
No one likes to dog me more than my wife, and I still love her. But, yeah, I kind of forgot where.
Wife, dogging,
Wife.
Tracking.
video, tracking, family.
She didn't get to go tracking.
Yeah. No, you said she was happy for me.
Yeah,
so
because she was just happy that.
just a great ending, I guess, to the year. But the point for me, I guess that I'm going to look back on is the amount of things that I've learned from this season. I've been hunting deer for 20 years.
Mhm.
I've been hunting with a bow for 14, 15 years. It's nothing new to me to kill deer. But in the last 3-4 years, I've gone harder than I have. I've learned as much in that time as I ever had learning before. And I am excited to try and take some of the things that I learned, some of the mistakes I made to try and make
You're ready for
that
an
story
You're ready
perfect.
for an MVP season, is what you're saying next
Yeah.
year.
And,
Well, I think
and-
as a whole collective, as a group, we've all, in the last 5 years, have
Oh, yeah.
completely changed everything we do, and we're actually smart about how we do it, and not like, there's a rub, yep, there's a big buck right here. We're going to set this stand right there and throw corn right next to this rub, and like,
And
it's more strategic for us, I think.
100%. And I want to bring up the fact that I'm going to show my outlaw side, maybe just a titch, but like there was something about being younger, gun season, kids with your dad, all this stuff, and like shooting a buck, it's run over here, you're chasing it around.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Well, in your
you're
younger
crossing
gun season, you
property
just kinda-
lines, maybe you're not, but in today's day and age, you cannot be out there trespassing to recover deer on all these properties and
No, not
and
with
just
the way
doing
people
all
are.
this stuff. And especially now that we sit in front of a camera every week and talk about it and have a podcast and a YouTube channel, we can't be breaking the law. So I'm very happy that very proud of Ryan for, even though it sucks, everyone knows it sucks to knock on doors and ask permission and have
Yeah.
to do all that. But
Yeah,
he went and knocked on
actually, I'll
5
give him
doors.
credit for that.
5 doors.
He, I don't know what he said. I wish we had him mic'd up. Like
We could have, put a
like,
lapel mic on him, but he got 5 yeses.
I don't know how he was, if he was nervous or just rambling or just
talking to people
cool,
is not
calm,
something
or-
that,
Yeah, but it's an awkward situation.
It is an awkward
Because they say
situation,
no, you're
but-
fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if they say nope, you
100%.
can't recover it. You can't go on my
100%.
property. You're done.
outside of that, again, awkward situation, everybody was pretty nice about it. Obviously, I appreciated the permission to
Yeah.
be able to do
Yeah.
it. And at the end of the day, the result was the same for me as if it would have been everything I wanted it
Yeah.
to be.
Yep.
So take the lessons, move on. I'm just hoping that this was the other thing I wanted to mention tonight, kind of side. So me, Alex, I missed the podcast for it. Caleb, Dylan, Ethan, we were the buckless Youpers last year.
Yep.
Me, Dylan, and Alex have all killed.
Yeah.
Yep. So now it's
now
it's
it's
me
down
and
to-
Ethan.
Caleb and Ethan need to cross them off. We're on a good path of.
And the guys that killed bucks last year are not
Have-
doing well. They're
have not
not.
killed
They're
them.
not doing
So-
well. Luke, Nick. It was Luke, Nick. Did Tyler kill one last year? And Isaac killed. I know Isaac killed
Matt
one. He
had
hasn't
the
killed
mercy
one.
Had
buck.
the mercy kill. Tyler.
I couldn't remember with Tyler's.
I don't think Tyler ended up killing one, but
Yeah.
He didn't he wound one last year? Shot
yeah,
one in
with
the
the
leg.
zoo buck. Yeah,
Zoo buck.
last year he did the
So-
whole zoo buck thing. Yeah.
I'm just hoping that these stories continue for the
Yeah.
deer shop. We got
My end of quick segue to your end of your story. So when you said you were going to go back in after him, I tried calling you like right before or right after I got off work to see what was going on. Like, what do I need to do? Where am I going? And you didn't answer, so I had to run into town. Then on my way back home, I made it around your block and just past your house, and you in our group chat, you're like, smoked him. So I just slammed on the brakes, pulled in the first driveway, turned around, and went right back to your house. You weren't even walking out of the woods yet. I was in the house with Gina. She's like, Ryan? I'm like, no, it's Alex. He smoked him. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, that's what he said.
yeah.
So then you and Matt.
Yeah.
Matt's been on a bunch of recoveries this
Yeah.
year.
He's the man.
So tell the audience the camera story,
Oh.
the Tacticam.
Yeah, I gotta hear this.
So-
This is good. This is good shit.
All right, so this is actually
And
kind of
me.
funny because actively, actually, my Deer Camp Chronicle episode just debuted
Yeah, it's
like
live
2
right now.
hours ago.
Yeah.
Right from when we're recording this. So I had sent that to the neighbor at one of my properties where I thought this deer was.
Yeah.
And so if he's listening, I haven't yet told him. I haven't told him yet. That
Well, you
it
said
wasn't
he
his.
listens, don't he?
I don't know.
Or-
That's a different guy.
Oh,
Anyways, I had 2 mature deer show up on camera on a scrape, I don't know, a month ago. And one of them had me a little more excited than the other. I would have shot either of them happily. What was that? Maybe like a week ago that this happened. So I'm kind of in the deer impression mode. Haven't killed this deer yet. I'm looking back through pictures, looking back through videos, and I recognize that this heavy 10, probably pushing 150 10, is at a property 20 miles away from where I thought he was.
He had his cameras mixed up.
I have 2 scrapes that
miles.
almost look identical. I mean, scrapes obviously, scrape, whatever. But like just the way it sits, the trees surrounding it, everything. I'm like, oh man, both these deer are around here. And so me and this neighbor, we share
So
information. He's
the
like,
neighbors hunting a buck that don't even exist.
yeah, the neighbor. He's like, man, I've never had him. You got all the deer on this side. I don't have 'em."
So
Sorry,
he definitely didn't
Andy,
have him.
I'm sorry. He's not anywhere near your property. I tell the group, and Caleb goes, man, I almost wish you wouldn't have told us that. So
Yeah, you said you're an open book.
I am. I'm not going to hide anything about anything we do here or anything I do. I just thought it was actually, I thought it was actually kind of hilarious. I mean, it didn't deter me from that spot. I mean, I wounded that deer at that spot, unfortunately. I would have been happy to take him. He would have been my biggest bow kill. I had another mature buck I was hunting there, and who knows what can come through.
Now
This is all, pre-rut through rut, and here we are.
Now that you're filming hunts, it's going to be really hard to be able to be like, oh, that never happened. That never happened. Like, kind of like the guy tonight's hunt. I want to end it on this. So,
ouchie, mama.
Filming brings up an aspect of things. You touched on it. We had talked about it pre-podcast. When you're filming your deer hunts and when you're filming your shots, you realize things watching your shot back that you don't realize in real time. Last year, I missed Megatron. We've talked about it a bazillion times. When I rewatched the video, I shot while he was walking. In my head, I thought he had stopped. But in the video, it clearly shows that I shot when he was walking.
Yeah.
Your deer you shot this year, he was stopped. But like you said, you were leading this deer with your bow. He was moving. And literally the second he stopped, before he could even get his off foot down, like he stopped and he went to plant his off foot, you released the arrow so fast that to me, it does show that you were moving your bow and just released as soon as he stopped, but you kept moving your bow.
Right.
You did. There was not even a quarter of a second between him stopping and you hitting
And
the release.
I guess I kind of
like that arrow enters the frame. The Lumenhawk enters the frame as the deer's putting his legs down from the stop.
And that's kind of the part where I went into a little bit of panic mode, and it was camera related.
Yeah.
It was just strictly camera related. It was opening the screen, turning it on, hit and record, trying, I already kind of had that area covered.
Yep.
So that had me stirred.
Yep.
It wasn't the deer that had me stirred. It was him getting out of range and getting everything ready. And I knew you can see some trees behind him. I've got markings on that tree from a yardage. So I basically knew, and I was pretty good on my yardage. It was just I was in panic mode of him leaving range.
Yeah.
I mean, your blood pressure is raising. You see something like that.
I would say, that would be my biggest thing. And we talked about it when we got back here, I think that night. You're like, oh man, you didn't have your camera on? You didn't have your camera ready? It's prime time. And Isaac's like, well, I don't have my camera on. So maybe next year when it's,
like when
you
it's
get into
the
that
last
prime
30
time
minutes of
situation,
light. Yeah.
obviously not recording, have
Right.
the camera on, have the mic on.
Yep.
Because when that situation comes in, all you got to do is hit that red button, and you're ready to go.
Yep.
And
That's how
that
I
would have
do it.
saved me. That could have been the difference in a perfect story.
And you pick these things up as you go.
So I've learned a lot. If you're looking to get into self-filming, I would say, practice a little bit before season comes, because for me, my first practice was my first hunt.
Yep.
I acquired the camera. I remember we were watching football at your house.
Yep. We were distracted
And
because we were watching football.
We're just kind of going over some things. He's like, oh, it's going to take you 30 minutes to set up, and you're going to do all this stuff. And it did. I was like, I didn't have the balance right.
It seems like it's
I get
so
the
easy
camera
to
out
climb
there,
up
and I stretch the arm out, then it starts falling, and I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah. Yep.
So do a little bit of practice on it. I learned through trials and tribulations. That's probably how most people will. But
I mean, most people don't come out with a near 140-inch buck. I mean, back to the shots real quick before I let you go there, Alex. The shot tonight, the mystery person's shot tonight. When we rewatched the video in real time, I'm filming via hand. I didn't use a tree arm tonight. I was hand filming because there's so much going on. In real time, it seemed everything normal, even though he missed. When we slowed the video down, that deer started to move before he hit the release. When you watch it like on a tape, slowed down, that deer had stopped. He went to shoot, and the deer started moving, and he shot. You wouldn't, if without a camera, that part of the story would never have been told because you would never know. You probably wouldn't know. Your brain wouldn't comprehend all that. But when there's a video camera, it clearly shows that deer started to move before he pulled the trigger. And he might have jerked it because of that subconsciously. There's so many things going on. He says he didn't notice it move, but even if he didn't notice it move, then he's behind. You know what I mean? He's gonna be way behind the deer.
it happens so fast.
So fast.
Yeah. I was going to add in. Don't film, but I had a doe 2 years ago. I think it was with that new bow, the 10-point. I can't remember. Either or, it was still like a 20-yard shot, and it was low light, still legal shooting time. But the doe, it was just a doe, and it stopped. So I shot, and it ended up being a gut shot. And I tracked it, and that day
I think I remember
it snowed. It was a Monday night because I think I went to poker after that. But it was a Monday night. I tracked it as far as I could on the neighbors in the woods there. All my flashlights died. Every light I had died. My phone died. Everything died. It was downpouring rain. And
Misery.
Yeah, it was terrible. I should have went out the next morning instead of after work. But I found it 30 more yards if I would have had light.
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up being a gut shot because she was kind of walking this way, and I thought she stopped, and she must have took another step.
Yep.
And I just hit behind where I thought I was aiming. And
Right.
I'll never, just like you said, I'll never forget rewatching the Megatron video in here, gun season, and watching him walking as I pulled the trigger. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I trying to shoot at a walking deer in the woods like that? But I didn't know that I was.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it just, the videotape reveals a lot. But
Well, I mean, at this mystery miss, when we stop it before he shoots, like you
it's the
said,
deer's.
no one's not taking that shot.
You have a broadside, 40-yard, 170 class stopped deer. I mean, you're shooting.
No
it.
one's not taking that shot.
Shooting it.
Yeah.
Shooting it. And there's a doe standing there by him, and this buck's this body's 3 or 4 times as big as a doe. It's insane.
Yeah. So,
But then stuff happens.
but in hindsight,
Hopefully,
when I seen the
you,
video,
you're
I'm
you come walk in the shop, you're like, oh my God.
yeah, it was ridiculous. I had to walk away
I
from it.
have a feeling that story's not over.
No.
I mean, the story.
I'm going to throw that out there.
The
I think
story
there's
is factually
I'm
not
gonna
over.
I'm going to throw two stories
Right.
out there. I don't think that story's over because I think he might execute on that. I also
I know where he's going.
think the wolf's alive.
Yeah.
I hope. But if he didn't, the fact the wolf didn't show up on camera in his last 48 hours of mayhem tells me that he's not alive. The weather's perfect. There's no reason he shouldn't have tripped one of our cameras. He's been gone over a month. What's today? Oh,
I'm taking
20. He's been gone 27 days, 28 days.
I'm going
I
off
mean,
the third. But
There's a lot of ways he can go. I mean,
yeah, he's
We'll
in the
see.
back of
Stay,
a
like-
he's in the back of a white
all
van
we can do,
with a black
he could
ladder
stay
rack.
one
all
property
we can do
over
is speculate
on the
until he
other
walks
side of the
by
road
a camera
and be
or
alive.
someone sees him.
Or we never see him again. There is, you know how many sheds are in this wall back here of deer that we never saw again?
Yeah.
Found their sheds, never saw them again. Episode 70 or 71, not sure. That's it.